Most people think that stress comes from having too much to do. But what if that's not true? What if the real source of your stress isn't your workload, your inbox or your calendar, but the way you're managing yourself? We live in a world obsessed with productivity, yet stress levels keep rising. And that's because stress isn't fundamentally a time management problem, it's a self-management problem. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how managing yourself can dramatically reduce stress and help you regain control of your life. Hello, my name's David Van Dyke, and in 1983 I graduated with a Bachelor of Science Honours degree in Sports Science. A big part of that course was psychology of sport, in particular how to manage stressful situations so that you could perform physically at the highest level. That knowledge, which I've updated, forms the basis of this video. I'm going to present the major steps that will enable you to control stress and thereby lessen the impact of it on your health. Before I get to that, can I please ask a big favour? It would really help this very, very young channel to grow if you could give me a like and subscribe as well. 2 clicks really does help more than you know. And I know you hear that all the time, but it's obviously true. And it's particularly true with me. And also, if you know someone who is under chronic stress, this video might be exactly what they need to hear. So forward it to them if you would, and let's share this this common sense approach to chronic stress. Okay, here we go. Step 1: organise your priorities, organise your time and prioritise your tasks. Let's start with something very, very simple and very basic. Make a to-do list and rank each one. Simple. Everyone has a to-do list. I've got usually 4 or 5 lying around the house. But what I do is I take one bigger sheet of paper, I take those 4 or 5 lists and I rank each one in order of importance. And that, believe it or not, does break the stress cascade, as it were, because you know that by starting the most important one, suddenly your mind feels a lot easier and a lot nicer and a lot better as a result of you getting through that. And the other ones that are less important, you do actually think, well, do you know what, they can wait. It's a good thing to do. Secondly, go from macro tasks to mini tasks. Again, do the big important things first. If your boss has asked you to do a project, that's got to come first, not some doobry what's it behind you saying, oh, go make me a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. You have to learn to say no to that type of thing. So split up your tasks into big ones. And if the big one seems overwhelming, then split that into smaller tasks as well, in order of importance, so that again, as you're ticking each section off, the macro task becomes smaller and smaller and smaller until stress should be the first thing that gets relieved for you. I'll give you an example of that. I do a lot of driving in my other businesses. For example, if I'm doing a 10-hour drive, which is quite a common thing, at least once a week, I don't think, oh God, I've got a 10-hour drive. I used to, but what I do now is I break that one macro task into smaller chunks. And my first hour will be, right, I've got to drive now, but I'm going to go and get myself a coffee from my first coffee stop. And that's my drive. That's all I think about. Once I've got my coffee, I then do another hour heading towards my destination. But of course, I need a break within 90 minutes to go to the loo, this sort of thing. It stretches my legs. I might have a look at a magazine, or I might just have a look at a book while I'm there, just to break the task off. Back in the car or van, the next stop is lunch. And that's all I'm thinking about between stop 2 and 3 is I'm going to be eating. And then the next stop 4, is another coffee. And then before I know where I am, I'm 1 or 2 hours away from my final destination. But suddenly the journey has seemed a series of mini tasks that takes away, completely alleviates the macro task of that 10-hour drive. It really works well. I'm living proof of that because I find these sort of psychological things that you look at perhaps a little bit unmanly, something like that, I don't know. But they do work, and I have applied them to my own life. And if you apply them to yours, you will find the same thing happens. Okay, last on our simple list of step 1 is learn to say no. This is really important because it means you're going to not be overwhelmed by too many tasks. Because as soon as you start to feel that this overwhelming stress from being put upon, basically, you've got that one word. All you've got to do is say no. Someone plonks a load of paperwork on your desk. If you can't do it because you've got your boss's report to do and you've got other things to do, hand it back saying, no, you can't do it, find someone else. Learn to say no. It's possibly one of the most important words in terms of controlling stress and keeping actions that other people will put upon you at bay. Step 2, learn to look at yourself. Right, a stress diary is always a handy thing to have, and I'm making the assumption that you don't know exactly where the stress is coming from. Usually people do. It's a person, it's a family member, it's a boss, it's a job, it's a drive, it could be a number of things. But if you're not quite sure, write a stress diary and prioritise the stressors, where they're coming from, and that way you're able to highlight what they might be and therefore deal with them in a certain way that we'll talk about later. Pause and reflect when it comes to stressful situations. This means stop, breathe, reflect and choose. Okay, it's quite an important four-point plan, and I'm going to give you a couple of messages, and I'll talk about myself first. If you get cut up while you're driving, it's happened to me 1,000 times. I've probably done it 1,000 times. It's almost certainly happened to every single person that's ever driven. And the first thing that you start to think is, bloody hell, if he's cut me up, it's my road. Get out of my road, you little bugger. And of course, then the emotion comes in and you start to get really angry. In part, you get that emotional response because driving is a dangerous activity unless you're on the ball 100% of the time. A lot of people say they find driving relaxing. I do to a certain degree, but actually it's really not. Your brain is jacked up almost to sort of breaking point, because if you do something wrong when you're driving on a road going fairly quick, you could injure yourself or die. So our bodies are hyped up to quite a large extent, far more than we realise. So then when someone cuts you up and they do something dangerous that might cost you your health or your life, suddenly you break. And this is why road rage is a real thing for most people. Even the most benign people can experience it because of these reasons. So in terms of being cut up while driving, the main thing is to say to yourself, stop. Mentally, obviously, in this case, clearly not physically. Stop, breathe deeply for 30 seconds or so, and then reflect. Does it matter that he cut you up? You're okay, your car's okay, you're heading on with your journey. So what's the point in getting angry? It won't help anyone. It certainly won't help me, because suddenly all this adrenaline is coursing through my system with all the problems that might cause in the long term. The person who cut you up doesn't give a damn. He's just driven on, and it usually is a man, let's be honest. He's driven on and he's going about his day. So reflect on that. Does it really matter? And of course we know the answer to that. And then choose your reaction to it. And by then, probably a minute would have gone by, and you can then choose how you react. Now, for the last 30 years, I've done 30,000 miles a year for all of those 30 years. So I've done a lot of driving. It used to be that I would get road rage like that. Young man, all this sort of garbage. Never happens now. The last 30 years it's never happened, not once, because I stop, I breathe and I reflect. And there have been some dangerous times on the road, as there are with anyone who does the sort of driving that I've done. But I'm able to control it just simply by following those pause and reflect signals there. Straightforward stuff, so do have a go. The other thing, have a harsh message or an email, which is a more common thing for stress. The next thing you do is you stop, because you get a harsh email, you think, right, I'm going to reply right now while I'm angry because I'm really upset about that email. Don't do that. Stop. And this time you stop physically. You don't reply, you keep away from that keyboard. And what you do is you go off and you make yourself a cup of tea whilst having a good deep breathing session for about a minute or 5 minutes, whatever it takes. And then you reflect. Did you deserve that email? Had you not finished that task? Was the task not up to snuff? Whatever the thing is, have a reflection of it and see if it's anything that you might have to accept in terms of that criticism. And if it's not, why did they say what they said in the way that they said it? My choice, after going through the 3 previous steps, is to choose to write back to him maybe a couple of hours later or the next morning, or go and see them, and just then start to engage in a more benign, a more friendly and pleasant discourse. And that way you feel the stress far less, because you are suddenly in control. Okay, next one is reframing negative thoughts. Challenge unhelpful thoughts. And that sort of goes back to that. And it also goes back to this. If I'm being cut up on the road, a very unhelpful thought is me to say, "Oh, I want to bloody kill you." Challenge it. You don't need to do it. And of course, we've gone through that. But also, challenge unhelpful thoughts means saying no. That's not comfortable for most people. Saying no is not comfortable for me in many cases because, of course, you're... if I say upsetting someone, you know what I mean. It's sort of they're taken aback quite often from it. But if you've done it just a few times, people ask you to do stuff far less, and they know that they're going to get an honest answer from you also, so that if you say no, it's because you genuinely can't help them at that particular point. So challenge those unhelpful thoughts of yourself. Okay, and here, be kind to yourself. Don't be afraid if you've completed a task. Congratulate yourself, reward yourself with a glass of wine that night, with a restaurant meal, whatever it might be. But do try and be kind to yourself, because that's all part of managing yourself and managing your stress so that you lessen it. And rewarding yourself is something that people find very hard to do. They almost think they don't deserve it, but you do. If you've completed a task, give yourself a little reward. For me, sometimes after filming this, I'll probably go into my kitchen and have a cup of coffee. That'll be it. But it's a reward for completing what is a reasonably complex task. So, step 3. Have a strict routine. This can be as simple as eating, sleeping, waking up at the same time each day. This provides a sense of stability and control, and is a simple step towards reducing stress. Include me time. Schedule dedicated time for your own interests, hobbies and enjoyments. This helps you switch off from stressors, whether they're work-related, certain people or particular situations. Step away from your desk to recharge and take regular breaks when you're driving. And one of the things I like about that is I've met a lot of people who do art, pottery, workouts. They go for walks, they take their dog for a walk, they groom their cat or whatever it might be. But you often find people in these situations saying that their hobbies and their interests and their passions make them forget about everything else in their life. And that's really what we're talking about when we're talking about having me time. It's a really critical thing. And it can work really very well. But it does mean you've got to get yourself a hobby or a passion. And if you don't have one, why not make that maybe fitness or improving your fitness or something along those lines, or cooking, or trying to improve your diet by cooking from scratch. And then we'll help ourselves when it comes to step 4. And step 4 is this generic overall health-giving statement that a lot of people have made, and you would have heard about it. But basically it is look after yourself. Both your body and your mind will be best served by proper exercise, proper diet and proper sleep. And those are complex and time-consuming things to talk about, and I'll be talking about the nature of those in further videos going forward as much as I can. Okay, step 5. Practice relaxation techniques, in particular diaphragm breathing. And I'm going to get onto that with my diagram right now. So here we are at our diaphragm breathing technique and our illustration to make that clear. We're talking about the vagus nerve here, and the vagus nerve, longest nerve in the body, starts at the brainstem and goes all the way down into the lower abdomen and infiltrates a lot of the major organs in the torso. Here I've got it very crudely infiltrating the lungs and the heart via the various branches, and I've got it passing through the diaphragm without any innervation. And the vagus nerve has got nothing to do with the diaphragm. It actually passes through something called the esophageal hiatus, and it's the phrenic nerve that infiltrates the diaphragm, and it's the phrenic nerve that moves the diaphragm up and down when we do our slow breathing technique. So really should be called the phrenic relaxation technique, but I think everyone knows the vagus nerve. But the vagus nerve does have a major part to play here. When the diaphragm is moving up and down because of our slow breathing technique, it does so and it stretches the lungs, the heart rate slows down, and stretch receptors in the lungs, the heart and the major blood vessels are mildly stimulated as a result of that deliberate action of deep inhalation and exhalation. That sends a signal via the vagus nerve direct to the brain. And what's the brain pick up? The brain picks up this. Breathing is slow, the environment appears safe. And that parasympathetic reaction of the brain slows down heart rate, slows down respiration rate, lowers blood pressure. So whilst during chronic stress we have been in a fight or flight response, albeit a low level one, but that low level fight or flight response will raise heart rate, raise respiration, it gives us poor glucose control and so on, all stuff that's really bad for our health. This simple breathing technique completely counteracts that and sends us from fight or flight to rest and digest. And that's a slowing down of everything, reducing everything down to a much healthier state that makes this such an important technique to do. You breathe in through your nose for 4 seconds, hold it for 1 second, and breathe out through pursed lips, which slows down the exhalation for 4, 5, 6 seconds, something like that. And you just repeat that slowly over that period of time. Don't pant or go too quickly or breathe out and in too quickly, because you'll go a bit lightheaded. Nice slow breaths, slow everything down, and that'll work a treat. So let's finish where we started. Stress is often caused by things outside of our control. A difficult boss, financial pressures, relationship problems, health concerns, or unexpected life events. We can't always control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond, and that's where our power lies. By organising your time, becoming aware of your triggers, building a structured routine, taking care of your body and mind, and practicing simple relaxation techniques, you're not eliminating life's challenges, you are becoming better equipped to handle them. Many people spend years searching for a magic solution to stress, when the real answer is often found in small, consistent actions repeated every day. Will these techniques make your stress disappear overnight? No, of course not. But they can help you feel calmer, think more clearly, sleep better, make wiser decisions, and regain a sense of control when life feels overwhelming. Remember, stress management is really self-management. The better you manage yourself, the less stress has power over you. And sometimes that's all it takes to turn a difficult life into a manageable one, and a manageable life into a fulfilling one. See you next time.